What's up, boys? Welcome back to another guide. Today I'm gonna be showing you a TvP build for more normal sized maps, smaller maps, because in the last guide, the sick builds for the new patch, I have a TvP build in there, but it's mostly just suited for long maps. So today I'm gonna show you guys my take on a standard build. This is the version of standard TvP that I like the most right now, and it'll be good for the smaller maps as well. So if you follow these builds, you will be able to round out your map pool a bit better with different kinds of builds. So yeah, it's I'm gonna talk you guys through the adaptations again. I think it's a very simple build. I think it's very safe. It has the difference is that my timings hit a little bit later but harder. I feel like if you play a standard TvP nowadays, you go Reaper Expand, one-on-one, 3 racks, whatever. Banshee, Raven, doesn't matter, Mind Drop. I feel like the timings, they all hit fast, but they never hit at a really good time where you have a lot of units. I feel like they have become a bit easy to defend. So the standard build I'm gonna go for... Yeah, it hits a bit later. The timings hit a bit later, but they hit harder. So, just quickly, if you guys forgot, if you want to be completely safe against proxy hit and everything, this is when you scout. You rally the SCV that just finished. The 18th SCV, that's the one you rally. If you want to scout proxy gates and gases in time and stuff so you can react on time. Now, I'm playing as Gerald, who is pretty much an only macro player as far as I know. He does play a bit tricky sometimes, but he doesn't really proxy. So I'm not going to SCV scout here, I think. But yeah, if you want to be safe, you get that 18 SCV scout going. Now you just build 2 SCVs to the natural to get rid of that annoying probe. I feel like the probe blocking should be a bigger issue than it is, but people are not really good at blocking, as you can see. They always leave just when I have enough minerals to put it down. So you go for the depot. All very simple stuff so far, right guys? Barracks gas. Now, the main difference between my standard version and a normal one is that I get the reactor before the factory. So instead of making a marine, I just get that instant reactor. So the factory is a little bit delayed. But like I said, what this does is I feel a little bit safer and your unit count is going to be a lot higher for when you're actually pushing stuff. So then again, my safety bunker, SCV that finishes the depot will go for the bunker. Now in this case, he's actually going to delay the bunker a bit because he was hiding his probe here. And I wanted to use my SCV to not get my other SCV attacked, right? So now we scout. Yeah, I actually lose my Reaper here. Don't do that. Once again, I always lose my Reaper, but please keep it alive. Keeping it alive is such a big deal. Now normally, like I always say, you go for a Hellion if you want to be safe, especially if you use the Reaper. But in this game, since I was pretty aware of what Gerald's gonna do, they always go Adept into Blink. I don't know which Korean did this or which pro did this, but they've all been doing this, so I felt like I was reading him like a book, and I didn't feel the need to scout. But normally, get that instant Hellion, jump the Reaper into the main. Yeah, on this map in particular, very easy. On a lot of these maps, very easy. Reaper in the main, Hellion in the natural, or a different variation. Use the Reaper grenade to jump the Stalker out of the wall and go in with the Hellion. But just make sure you get that scout going to make the game a lot easier for you. Now, this is what you would do against anything that's not Stargate with this build. You just go for the... If you go a Hellion, you make 2 mines. If you don't make a Hellion, you get 3 mines. And then you go for the drop. If it's a Stargate, I actually would still make the mines. I feel like they're going to be useful. But just instead of the medevac, you get the Viking. So the way it works out is that you have a mine here maybe, and then a Viking here. And you'll be completely safe from an orc or anything flying into your main. And then you just go with the same follow-up. Which is about the time when you start your last mine. You're going to start adding the barracks. And another one. He was being very annoying with the adepts as well. And then we're going to go for that mine drop. Once again, this is a very high unit count builder. All the time you see it a little bit later. I feel like it could also be awkward for Protoss. Like the mine drop is already a little bit later. I think it throws them off too. Maybe they'll start expecting something else. That's also an added side benefit of doing builds just a little bit differently, a little bit different this way. So you get the eBay followed by the third gas. And then you're gonna get in with the mine drop.
Add-on.
Now, once again, general rule of the mine drop: if it's a robo, you can go in for sure. If it's blink, you usually just AFK in the corner. Now, this game, I was lucky; it went perfect for me. So, the reason is why I killed. I don't know if it's 3 or 4. Let's see. I think this one killed one too. So 4 probes. I wasn't sure if I killed the scouting probe or anything. So I killed some probes, and I have the threat. This is the most important thing against Blink, because the Protoss won't be able to move their Stalkers forward. I talked about this in my tank push guide as well. You always want to have that threat against Blink. So this is the best situation ever. I got some probes. Obviously, you should never be able to get more than 4 probes, unless the guy isn't looking, and then you can just win the game. But I got some damage on, and I have the medevac alive for the threat. That's a big deal. Now, in the meantime, in case you didn't realize, we made these tech labs with the factory and starport, by the way. So the 3rd mine finished, the medevac finished, and then we started tech labs on those for the barracks. Now, another benefit of this build is that if you do the build this way, you're actually gonna have a lot of gas. And it's funny to talk about this, but just doing the build a little bit different, getting the factory a little bit later, reacting a little bit early, has so many benefits. So what happens is, because your tech is a little bit later, you actually have a lot of gas when it actually comes to it. So normally, you can only produce Marines at this time, because you need to spend all your gas on the upgrades, add-ons, blah blah blah. But because you do the build this way, your Marauder count is actually going to be way higher than normal. And you already have that high Marine count from the reactor first. So the unit composition by the time you attack is a lot better. The main reason why I do this build myself is, this is actually the perfect game to show it, is that people play Colossus a lot. If I do a normal Widowmine drop 3-on-1, the Marine count is so high, and I feel like you can't do a lot against Colossus. But with this build, by the time you hit, you actually have a lot of Marauders while still having a high Marine count, but you have the Marauder count to actually push into damage. So I feel like with this build, you don't actually get automatically really far behind against Colossus. Whereas if you do the normal, standard Widowmine drop 3-on-1 with not the reactor first, I feel like playing against Colossus is just almost impossible. You need to like outplay with drops and stuff. But this build actually has a lot more bulk to it, and you can actually push against Colossus players, and it's a lot more dangerous for them. So we're gonna get that 4th gas. This is optional. I'm gonna explain it a little bit. The way I like to play 3 racks before 3rd is you go up to 4 medevacs, and then I like to make 4 liberators for follow-up timing. Now, you can only really afford those liberators fast if you get the 4th gas fast. But you can also... This 4th gas was even a little bit late, by the way. If you want to do the liberator follow-up, and just to illustrate what this timing looks like, you attack with the first 2 medevacs, you pressure a bit. If it doesn't work, you back off, and you go again with 4 liberators and a bunch of mines. That's the 2nd timing I like to do. For me, this build is not just about 1 timing, it's about 2 timings. So you have to get this 4th gas fast so you can be able to afford liberators. Like right now, I have 3 medevacs. I would like to be able to afford a liberator. Or if you do lose this mine drop, then you want to be able to make a 2nd medevac, and then you get liberators. But if you don't want to do this timing, if you just want to macro up and be safe, you just throw it on the 3rd before the 4th gas. The only difference is that you won't be able to afford the liberators after. But it's a really good way to do the macro follow-up. Just get that 3rd CC before the 4th gas, if you don't care about that liberator follow-up. So this is the timing you hit. As you can see, it's kind of lined up with stim, combat shields, and +1 attack. Now, this is going to show you what I was talking about earlier. Is that normally this push has maybe 1 or 2 Marauders, and then the rest is just Marines and Mines. And like a Colossus does like 30 damage against light. Those Marines die so fast. So this is only Marines. You can't do anything about it. So what I do here is when I want to go for it, I will pull my Marauders to the front. Like you can see, I already had them selected. Now I use them to target the probes. But you can go with the Marauders first, because the Colossus doesn't do that much against the Marauders. And this is actually an army he has to be afraid of at this point. Just because the Marauder count is so high. You see, I try to get the Marauders forward. Now, as soon as you clump up like this, you just back off, because 1 Colossus hit is like... I actually did the math on this, and I think it's about 4.7 million damage on the Marines. So when you don't get the clean Marauder split forward, just back off. Like, you really don't want even one Colossus swipe to be able to hit those Marines. There we go, it's gonna back off right away. I still have that mine drop. I think since I killed this third, what I was planning to do is... Because I obviously have my own third, I just wanted to take it easy in macro. A slightly different thing I have to say is... I'm gonna pause because I want to talk about the mine drop as well. Is that usually in my other videos I talk about the 2-2 timing. When you're ahead, you want to do that 2-2 timing with the Vikings and the Ghost. But after a build like this, you're gonna max way before 2-2 because it's just a single eBay build, right? And we didn't even trade any units. So in a scenario like this where you're ahead, I would actually go for the 1-1 timing instead. A second starport is optional. I think if you did the variation where you get the third to see really early, you're probably rich enough to do it, but you don't have to. But anyway, in this case, I would really go for the 1-1 timing. Like, you always have to look at your supply, you know? Like, at this point, my +1 armor has just started. It's very obvious that I'm gonna be maxed, like, you know, a solid 2.5 minutes before I get 2-2. So that doesn't work out. So in this case, with this build as a follow-up, I would go for the 1-1 timing instead, if you're ahead. Now, if you play against gateway style, you can keep making mines and they're very useful. But if you play against Colossus, you don't really want the mines. So what I do here is that you just slowly start dropping them. I believe I'm gonna drop these as well, I think.
Your forces are under
Let's
attack.
see. So yeah, you just want to sacrifice your mines. Similar to how you sacrifice Marines in a late game to make more Marauders, more Ghosts and stuff. If you play against Colossus, you want to sacrifice those mines, get any damage you can.
Your
That's it.
forces are
Okay, so
under
there's
attack.
the mine drop. Just get in, be a bit sneaky, you know. Just sacrifice those mines. You see, that's already a beautiful
Your
hit. That's like,
forces are under attack.
you know, game-ending damage almost when they're on so little basis. And for me, if those mines died for free, it sucks, but it's no big deal because they're honestly, they don't add anything at this point. I was looking for an observer, that's why I zoomed in. As you can see, look at the income. It's still a pretty economic build. If you don't do any damage, you're going to be a little bit behind economically. But because of the high unit count, it's not the biggest deal.
Command center
So here you can see the Ghost Academy is going to line up. It actually builds a bit faster than I think it gets done pretty fast. So this game I'm actually just going for the 1 starport. I'm gonna get those ghosts out and then hit a killer timing. Here's the last 2 mines I'm gonna drop. Once again, you don't really want to be keeping any mines. So here we're gonna be starting some ghosts. I actually made 4 ghosts. Normally I make 3. And I think that's a small mistake. I'm not gonna be able to afford any more Vikings. Also, since I was hitting at timing, I don't get these gases. But in any case, if you're planning on macroing, if you want 2-2 upgrades, you have to get those gases as soon as you hit about, you know, 56, 58 SCVs. Because Terran... This is kind of weird about Terran, but Terran mid-game is really gas expensive. So you want to get your gases relatively early and then not make any more gases. So if you have a 4th base, for example, you don't really want to make any more gases on it. But you need those gases to actually start your upgrades and everything early on. Because we all know the Terran gas bank. At some point, Terran doesn't take any gas anymore. But when you're at the stage where you need to afford your upgrades, ghost, tech, then you actually need a lot of gas. So if you're planning on macroing and stuff, I would definitely get those gases a little bit earlier. Now, my timing is not going to work out completely. Ghost Academy a little bit late, but you can see where this is headed. Another important part of the mine drops, by the way, is that you get a lot of good scouting. I think I scouted everything here. I scouted the Dark Shrine, I remember that. You can scout it to get a second robo and stuff. That's a very underrated part of Terran harassment. A lot of the times when you do Terran harassment, the intention is actually to scout as well. If you go in with a mine drop, you can actually see if they're going for Colossus, if they have 4 gases in particular, those kind of things. So yeah, we're gonna hit just as he's resaturating his 3rd base. We killed a shit ton of probes this game. Obviously, it looks like a lot, but this is like, I don't know, 4 mine drops or something, or 5 mine drops, I'm not sure. Of course, it's still a lot. So we're gonna hit them when they're weakest. As you can see, 1-1 timing hits at 175. Like I said before, obviously there's no hope of a 2-2 timing at this point in this follow-up. Obviously, you could trade and hit later with a 2-2 timing. So yeah, if you're not good at ghost control, I would recommend just to go in with them, get those EMPs, and then you can start making that concave around. Obviously, EMP's already done the damage. All those stalkers are shieldless. And then I did this is a bit risky. Obviously, I could tell that I was gonna win the fight. Normally, just keep that concave because Marauders are actually super good in a concave. I have 15 of them. Here I was just securing the win. I was getting in there because I knew I won. But if you're not sure, if you're not confident in your forward side of the forward micro, just keep that concave. You really don't have to rush in a fight like this. You have the Viking shooting from range, and you have a lot of Marauders with this build once again. So that's going to be it, guys. I really wanted to give you guys a standard build for smaller maps, a safe build. A little bit different from the usual, but still pretty standard, pretty basic. So I hope you guys enjoyed it and are going to get some wins with this. And don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, like the video, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Adios.